What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down what the heck is going on with Tesla as we had some crazy volatility today. Why aren't the Tesla come down this hard? Why did we actually gap down and end up bouncing at 101? Why did Tesla end up getting a big rally to the upside right after that? What did the data tell us? What on earth is going on with Tesla? What do I forecast for the next few days? I'm going to talk about all of that in this video. Now, before I break any of the data down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things real quick. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 10 days. So check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at Tesla, we had a very interesting day. This thing gapped down pretty hard. We basically crashed in the very beginning of the day. And the headlines were very different in the very beginning. They were saying that, oh, Tesla's crashing. Is it the end of Tesla? Tesla is doing horrible, this and that. And they were not saying much else from there, right? The headlines came out immediately. Tesla actually was trading around 104 to 103 a share, filling the gap right over here, which I mentioned. And if we broke below that, the next key zone was around that $100 level. So Tesla came down very hard. We actually bounced around $101.82 as the buyers came back, and the whole market ended up kind of squeezing today. Right? We saw a lot of shorts getting out of their positions, hedging by buying shares, and also some shorts, maybe to some degree, covering their short positions, causing a bit of a squeeze. And this squeeze had so much buying pressure that not just SPY, not just Apple, but Tesla made a full recovery, pushing to be green for the day overall. So let's break down what actually happened. Why did we end up coming down pretty hard? And I want to start off with this. Basically, what happened was Tesla actually announced something very, very big. That's the fact that they are actually going to be cutting prices in China again. Now, what does this mean in the context of the situation? And my answer is right now, investors are very divided about what's happening in China. In China, to be blunt, basically they're going through something that's very similar to the 2008 financial crisis. Okay, that's because many of their major property developers, such as Evergrande, are just facing bankruptcy. They're not really committing to the projects that they were supposed to finish. And on top of that, we had the major lockdowns that happened. So all of this data and all of these occurrences are suggesting that China is going through a recession like situation right now, right? I'm not saying it's a perfect recession. I'm not saying the data even proves that, because I know the data they give us is not really that accurate, but it's looking like they're going through some kind of recession like occurrence. And I say that because now demand in China has shifted. And this became more evident amidst every single one of those lockdowns that have just been hammering consumers in the country, everyday people, and their economy. So now what's happening is investors are wondering, okay, what's happening in China? Demand is going down. How is Tesla going to meet their requirements? Especially after the fact that Tesla had their annual report that came out, and Tesla ended up missing on deliveries. But you also have to remember that production was actually pretty strong. They actually had 47% growth year over year, which is pretty decent. So, production on that side, I'm not worried about Tesla's ability to produce these cars. I think in China, they're doing very well. It's a monster in Shanghai. They're doing very well with their gigafactories there. And also, I expect lots of improvements in Berlin and Texas and so on and so forth. But in China right now, the demand side is slowing down, and this is really affecting Tesla's ability to sell more of these cars on their deliveries. So now Tesla's cutting prices again. They actually cut two of their models. They cut the Model 3 by 13.5%, and then the Model Y by 10%. And this is making investors kind of concerned about what's happening in the Chinese markets. And as a result of this, not just Tesla, but many other Chinese companies. I think NIO was down like 12% at one point. Li Auto was down, Xpeng. The entire EV sector took a bit of a hit because of this. There's less confidence in China right now. But then we ended up getting a very big bounce and a push to the upside because of something else. And this is what I mentioned yesterday. This is why I told everyone we have a huge day for Friday. And I did not lie when I said that the market really did react. So what happened? We had more data coming out for our economy, and the data was actually good for the stock market. What did the data tell us? Non-farm payrolls were actually very close to expectations, despite the fact that the unemployment rate did technically go down just a tiny bit. It wasn't really too extreme. So we are still technically seeing some weakness in the jobs market, and we are expected to see things get worse as time goes on once unemployment finally starts to go up as we approach 2023. Then we had the non-manufacturing PMI that came out. This was lower than expected, good for the stock market, and the market responded very positively to all of this. So I mentioned in my previous videos, as Tesla is a stock that has a positive beta, let me just show you guys some data on it. Tesla tends to push up with the market. Does it do it every single day perfectly? No. There have been some instances where Tesla underperformed compared to the market. But the bottom line is Tesla does have a tendency to get being affected by SPY and the QQQ. Okay, because the market has very collective structures of buying pressure, of FOMO, of different structures that affect these ETFs. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is when the market got a really nice bounce, it started to push up even harder. And a lot of these shorts started to cover their positions. We saw lots of buyers step in, and it got stronger and stronger throughout the entire day. And the SPY actually hit a crazy level. We actually hit 389 today. We went from 378 to 389. We made a crazy move. We were up almost 2.5%. That was crazy in just one day. And like I told you guys, it's going to be a huge day. It was a pretty huge day. Now, I want to break down something else that's important. I mentioned to you guys like back in December, my prediction was for the first week of January, we would get a bit of a rally to about 390. And I also wasn't as confident about this as time went on. And then I did predict that, the week after we would get a bit of a crash. Well, I don't really stand by that prediction anymore. I was almost right about us hitting 390 uh, during the first week of January, but I don't know if we're going to just crash from this point on. I think there is still some room for us to maybe break out of this resistance from this trend. If we manage to do it, we could actually squeeze even higher before a big reversal potentially comes next week, because next week we have lots of Fed speakers. We have Jerome Powell speaking. We also have CPI coming out on Thursday. It's going to be very important. And this could mark the reversal, but we don't truly know just yet. Now, for Tesla, at least for the time being, we are showing some nice strength. I mean, we came down pretty hard. Many, articles were coming out saying Tesla's crashing, Tesla's gonna die, it's the end of the world. And what happened? The buyers came and this thing made a big reversal and ended up turning green. So many of these articles were sure to change their headlines right after Tesla got a bit of a rally. Very, very interesting to see. Now, I want to break down what else I do anticipate in just a couple of minutes, but I also want to talk about this right here. We had something crazy that happened. Basically, there was a driver. I'm not going to say what his intent was or anything like that, but a driver fell off a cliff while driving a Tesla. And I think the whole family was in the car. And what happened was uh, they ended up surviving despite a 250-foot plunge off the cliff. And that's pretty astonishing, in my honest opinion. Now, I don't want to go into too many details about it, but I do want to mention something that many important experts were talking about. And that's the fact that the Tesla, the design of the car, the safety features played a role in why on earth these people survived. Now, am I saying it's only because of the Tesla? The answer is no. You have to account for the velocity of the impact, the position the car was in when it fell, how the car actually fell. All those other things played a role. But many mechanical engineers out there that actually were working and actually analyzing what was happening, they found that the Tesla played a big role in why on earth the people ended up surviving. And it has to do with the engineering behind it. I say this because of the fact that many of the simulations out there said the car could have collapsed, it could have gone and destroyed, but it landed in a way that actually stopped the impact from being as bad. It didn't land on its top, it landed like on, I think, on its tires. And there was also a lot of things in the design that actually helped the people survive. The batteries in the vehicle's undercarriage were likely stopping the vehicle from like tilting forward. So then the engine, which was under the hood, it actually ended up helping them survive. It was pretty crazy, very, very crazy to hear. And I think the bottom line about this is not for me to just say it's all because of the Tesla. I mentioned there were other factors that played a role, but it's also to give the company credit for their investments, their research, their efforts into making the cars safe. Remember, they got some very high safety ratings. They're incredible cars. They're very safe. And I really think that the company deserves more credit than what it's getting, right? It's very important to note that. So I just wanted to note this. Very important to know. I'm going to now transition back into the technicals. The price pairs ratios were still relatively low for Tesla. I do think it might bounce just a little bit because Tesla is showing some nice strength, and it should continue on this trend at least temporarily for next week. Tesla is kind of like oversold compared to SPY still. So I do believe it could bounce just a little bit before something else ends up happening. It's also going to depend on catalysts for next week. Mizuho, which is another analyst, they gave Tesla another buy rating. That's a very good sign. And that's because they are very bullish long term, as we are, and there's not much else to really go on from there. Mondays tend to be green days for Tesla, so I'm hoping for a nice push. Now, I want to break down what I expect for the share price because we had a very, very strong trend. We got some really nice volume, and some buyers are stepping in. Now, I want to break down one more thing, and that's SPY. Right now, we're still in this like bear flag like setup, but we actually broke out of it temporarily before coming right back into it. And we closed right where it was above 388. So if the market next week pushes out of this trend, and it continues to push, it's very likely this is going to actually cause the whole market to maybe continue with the squeeze. If more buyers continue to step in, we could keep pushing up to maybe destroy lots of shorts out there. And then this would offer a really good shorting opportunity, in my opinion, for the long term, and also an opportunity for many of these profit takers to re-enter their short positions, right? It's probably what Wall Street is thinking. And in my opinion, if that's the case, if the market does try to go for that squeeze, where could we go to? Well, on SPY, we have resistance around 390. We also have the gap resistance. I will go into more details about this tomorrow, though. But I just wanted to note that there is still potential for the market to continue pushing up. Remember how I mentioned on the hourly chart on the MACD, we have the bullish divergence that formed. This was suggesting that 374 was our temporary bottom. The market would rally a bit. Technicals did end up getting it right, but the real question is, could we continue this next week? We'll have to wait and see. If we do, that could actually help Tesla. The VIX is also in a very critical level. It actually ended up filling the gap I mentioned, came very close to filling the second gap. I don't think we fully filled it yet. The second gap's around like 20.9. We still could see the VIX come a little bit lower. And if we break below that, this thing could actually start to hang out between 20 and 19. That could give the market a little bit more room. And if that's the case, if the market does continue to push, let me actually use the 5 minute chart for Tesla. If that's the case, here's what I was actually looking at on Tesla. Tesla got a really nice bounce, very good to see. We actually went for the gap right here. And I do believe that Tesla has potential to continue pushing up, and we could end up retesting this 117 level. Now, are we going to break it? I don't know for sure, but if we do end up breaking it, if this thing breaks 117, we could fly to about 120 a share. I think that's a little bit more likely to happen if the market gets a nice bounce, if it continues with the buying. And if Tesla breaks that, if we break this zone right here, we have the potential to fly to about 123 a share, which is a pretty decent move. Do I promise that that's going to happen? The answer is no. Depends on data, depends on where the market is and how the market responds. But at the same time, it is still very possible. I also predict that Tesla might outperform the market temporarily for the first couple of days, as long as there are not any negative news articles that come out because of the heavy shorting that could actually lead to a mini short squeeze event. It can actually help Tesla pop up another $10 or so, maybe even higher. So we'll just have to wait and see how that ends up going. But right now, from a technical standpoint, seeing the volume, seeing the buying pressure, and seeing such a big move suggests that it's a little bit more likely that Tesla is going to continue to push up going into next week. Once again, I will go into more details about SPY and do a comparative analysis between Tesla and SPY tomorrow. But I just want to note from a technical standpoint, this is looking a little bit more bullish to me, especially after SPY showed the strength that it did. Now, given all the news could negatively affect Tesla or positively affect it next week. I don't know exactly what the news articles will say, so there will be nuances in the share price. But I do know one thing, that is, it is still more likely for us to push up, and it's also extremely likely for the long term. Tesla still has so much growth to come. With that said, I hope you guys really enjoy your weekend. Please remain calm, cool, and collected. And about my situation, I just wanted to note that even though there was supposed to be a storm today, it's actually pretty sunny outside, so that's pretty funny. Not a single drop of rain even came today. Uh, that's pretty funny how the news ended up getting that wrong, but it's completely fine. I'm happy that the majority of people around me are happy and healthy and safe. I want the same thing for everyone else out there. So please enjoy your weekend. And I'm hoping to actually upload another video by tomorrow where I break down the SPY, break down some very important aspects of it, and why on earth we could see a potential continuation to the upside, which could actually help Tesla push up. Now, before I end the video, I just wanted to say I really appreciate everyone. Please remain calm, cool, and collected, and get some rest over the weekend. I know the last few weeks have been hectic. So thank you. Have a great rest of the day. Tesla to the moon, because the long term future is still incredibly bright. And peace out.